What a headshot! What a head!
How's it, guys? This is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I'm going to bring you guys the ultimate guide to the upcoming Game Week 11. So talking points covered in this specific ultimate guide are going to be the usual watch list as well as captaincy right at the end of the video. But the main talking points are going to be about should you guys be benching Man City defenders, and then also who to get between Harry Kane and Heung-min Son. So that's something you guys are interested in. Sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So the first talking point I wanted to just give you guys a reminder about and also talk about is going to be the European football that happened and will be happening tonight in terms of the Conference League and then also the Europa League. So in terms of the Europa League and Conference League, as I always say, there usually is quite a bit of rotation within these starting 11s, so don't you have to worry about these games too much. But in terms of the games that have already happened, which will be the Champions League fixtures, Chelsea, we already spoke about them along with United, so I'll be touching on Liverpool, and you guys can just go check out my previous videos if you want some talking points about those two teams. But in terms of the Liverpool assets as well as the Man City teams, unfortunately, Man City, Cancelo did feature for another 90 minutes. Yes, he did get 3 assists, and also Trent Alexander-Arnold got 2 assists, but both these two players did feature for 90 minutes, and to be honest, I'm not too worried about them kind of being benched for this upcoming game week. The main reason for that, as with Trent, the Liverpool starting 11 is usually quite solid, but then with Cancelo, Kyle Walker went off with an injury on about the 45-minute mark. So with Kyle Walker out injured, it pretty much secures Cancelo back into that starting 11 unless we do get news from Pep tomorrow in the press conference that Kyle Walker is ready to go, and it was just a little bit of a knock that he did pick up. But it always is a little bit annoying and also nice to see when your FPL options do quite well in the Champions League, because I mean, why can't Cancelo get a hat-trick of assists in one of these FPL game weeks? I don't really know, that's just sometimes how FPL is, but I'm just hoping against United on the weekend, Cancelo will put on a good show, but we'll be talking about him a little bit later on when we cover the Man City defenders. Another big talking point coming out of the Liverpool camp is going to be Roberto Firmino, who was actually subbed on at half-time but came off about the 70-minute mark, went straight down the tunnel with an apparent hamstring injury. So that means that one man is going to be featuring for Liverpool in the starting 11, and that's going to be Diogo Jota. So if you guys want to bring in Diogo Jota, already have him, maybe kept him over these past couple game weeks, he'll be raring to go in that starting 11, and it does look like he's picked up the form since the start of the season. But in terms of the other selections, not too much to talk about, only the Europa League and the Conference League coming up tonight. But as I did say, I'm expecting some heavy rotation in those starting 11s, so don't you have to put too much importance on those specific teams. But now going on to the watch list, and I have kind of switched up how I'm going to be covering this watch list. I usually just kind of posted the players on the screen, but now I want to give you guys some more in-depth analysis into the fixtures and also their price and projected points for at least the next 6 fixtures. You guys can let me know in the comments down below what kind of style you prefer. If you prefer these graphics on a kind of individual basis, or do you prefer me kind of talking about all 3 options at the same time, as that might be slightly quicker than what I'm going to be doing in this video. But the first option to talk about is going to be Smith Rowe. In terms of Smith Rowe's price, 5.6 million, which is great value for money considering how well he's been doing over these past couple game weeks. But if you guys do want to bring Smith Rowe in, or are looking to maybe bring him in the future, just know that he is predicted to rise in price tonight, and then he'll be 5.7. So just check the comments down below. I probably will be posting if I do bring Smith Rowe in tonight, but I also might post it on my Twitter page at Dayvy FPL a little bit later on. But I think that Smith Rowe is heavily on my watch list, and as I did mention, I'm actually looking to bring him in for Andros Townsend before the Game Week 11 deadline. I would have probably liked to postpone this move to at least tomorrow just to get as much news as possible over my current team selection, but if he is going to rise in price and I wanted to bring him anyways, I might as well just do it tonight. In terms of the projected points over the next 6 game weeks, 21.0 points is quite respectable considering his price point, but I think that's also kind of due to the nice fixtures coming up for Arsenal. So game week 11 against Watford, one of the best fixtures right now to have. Watford really struggling at the current moment defensively and also from an attacking point of view. So Smith Rowe has a good chance of getting that clean sheet point, and also he's kind of scoring goals for fun right now. And against Watford, as I mentioned, defensively not that strong, so I'm expecting Arsenal and Smith Rowe overall to do quite well. Unfortunately with Smith Rowe, he kind of has a good fixture, bad fixture, good fixture, bad fixture, and you can see some rotation in and around there. But it is also good to know in game week 14 and 15, when he has 2 red fixtures, they're against United and Everton, who right now can't defend at all. In terms of the Arsenal options, definitely the best value for money that you guys can get, and at that number 10 role that he has taken up this season, looks a great value for money, and I am expecting big things from Smith Rowe in the upcoming game weeks. The next option to go for is going to be Wang from Wolves, another little cheaper option in that forward department. Now he does come in at 5.8 million, which he has had a couple of price rises over the past couple game weeks after some pretty good performances that he has had. Unfortunately, in game week 10, didn't amass any points. I think he only got a 2-pointer, as the goal that he did score was ruled offside by VAR. In terms of the fixtures coming up, I think there's one fixture to kind of focus on, and that's going to be game week 13 against Norwich away. A little bit annoying that it is an away game, but I mean, against Norwich, you'll take away or home anyways, because that's just kind of the fixture to target in FPL this season, and I am expecting Wang to do quite well in that specific game week. Now with Wang, I don't think I'll be bringing him in this specific game week for Adam Armstrong. I probably will prolong this move to about that game week 13 mark, just to give myself enough time to kind of validate the move and see if Wang's going to keep that starting 11 spot. In terms of the projected points, 14.3 isn't that great, but I just think the algorithm takes his expected minutes into account, and I think the algorithm might worry about him being benched 1 or 2 game weeks. If you guys can afford both Raul Jimenez and Wang, I would definitely go for Raul Jimenez. Just put up a little bit of better stats right now, and I think that Wang, although he might not get that many shots, seems to be quite clinical as a cheaper option in that forward department. Unfortunately, game week 15 and 16 don't look that great, but at his price point, you still can get away with benching him, and that's probably what I might do over game week 15 and 16. And the final player to talk about on our watch list is going to be Broyy from Southampton. A nice little cheap entry at 5.0 million. Actually had some relatively good scores in terms of FPL over these last 2 or 3 game weeks. And now that he's back from injury, as confirmed by the Southampton manager today, I do think he's first choice in that starting 11. And unfortunately for me, as an Adam Armstrong owner, that's going to mean that Broyy starts and probably Adam Armstrong does miss out. I think his price point is super valuable, and if he manages to keep up the form that he's currently on and starts for Southampton and getting most minutes, I think at 5.0 million is an absolute steal, and you can also bench him every so often if you don't want to play him. Unfortunately, 14.0 points, as similar to kind of Wang in terms of the projected points over the next 6 game weeks, is just because he's only started the most recent game weeks and kind of played a full 90 in that after Adam Armstrong has been benched after a poor run of form. So with Broyy, great option to kind of go for, just kind of hope that he manages to cement a starting 11 place, because with Adam Armstrong, Che Adams and Nathan Redmond all in the background, that kind of starting 11 spot might be under risk if he doesn't score in every single game. I think what I might do with the Broyy is I might give him 1 or 2 game weeks, but I just think I want to 100% see if Adam Armstrong has lost his spot, as they have kind of paid a heavy fee for him, and with Broyy, as far as I know, he is on loan at Southampton. Before we get on to the next talking point, I actually want to ask you guys for some help. Who do you think scores more points in the next game week, which is going to be game week 11? Do you think it's going to be Smith Rowe at home to Watford, or do you think the Wolves man Wang will end up scoring quite a few? You could also put in Broyy there. If you think Broyy will score the most points, also include him with a nice fixture against Aston Villa. Aston Villa haven't been that great defensively recently, so do you think that Southampton will score in that one? And I mean, that just increases the chance of Broyy getting some returns if he does play at least from the start. But now going on to our next talking point, and that's going to be all about the Man City defender. So unfortunately, with the majority of sides having relatively good games, or at least fixtures in game week 11, Man City against United might be one of those games that you are considering benching the likes of Diaz or maybe Cancelo. Now with Cancelo over Diaz, if you guys have to choose between 1 or 2 of them, I would definitely go with Cancelo over Diaz. And the only reason for that is I just think that Cancelo, as you guys saw in the Champions League this midweek, offers that significant attacking threat, picking up 3 assists, and I am expect him to continue that kind of attacking form into these next couple games. So out of these 2, start Cancelo over Diaz, but if you are considering maybe benching both of them, I might kind of turn your attention away from that, and I might ask you to reconsider that, as I do think United might be a little bit of an easier game than maybe people are expecting. Now I know this game is at Old Trafford, but we saw with Liverpool kind of scoring 5 and conceding nothing at Old Trafford that it definitely isn't the fortress that it has been in the last couple years. Now the only thing that I would kind of heed caution with these Man City defenders is United can't defend at all right now, and therefore I think the best form of defense for United is going to be their attack. So I think it's going to be kind of all-out attack, that kind of chip that we had the last couple of seasons. So I'm expecting Ronaldo, Greenwood, Rashford, Cavani to be up there and continuously counter-attacking Man City, which they have been a little bit susceptible to in these past couple game weeks. So I definitely think that if you guys don't have any players on your bench with great fixtures, I would probably play the Man City assets. But if you do have a player that has a relatively good fixture, I might consider starting them instead of Diaz or Cancelo. And what I wanted to do on screen here, although projected points aren't the best things in the world, and sometimes the algorithm does get it quite wrong, I wanted to show you guys the expected or predicted points for game week 11 of some notable options that you might be benching for these Man City defenders. So with Antonio up top there with 5.0 points, although he is playing Liverpool, Liverpool's defense hasn't been that great over these last couple game weeks. Now, I don't really think there's many of you guys that are benching Antonio for a Cancelo or a Diaz, but if you are, maybe reconsider that, so maybe start Antonio as he is more of an attacker, and usually the attackers favored to the defenders. The next couple options include Dunk. We also have Mbeumo and then also Townsend. Now, Townsend is the one player that I probably wouldn't be suggesting starting over Diaz or Cancelo. I would definitely be benching Townsend this game week after seeing how bad Everton have been over the recent couple game weeks. So that's definitely an option that I don't think the algorithm is getting right here, but I just don't think the algorithm contains kind of current form. I don't think it's probably taking this season as a whole. Mbeumo is another option I definitely would be playing over Cancelo or Diaz just because Norwich at home, great fixture to go by, and I am expecting Mbeumo to return to that starting 11 of Brentford. Now we kind of head up with Cancelo and Diaz. Diaz slightly edging Cancelo, but I just think that's in terms of expected minutes. I think Diaz is more of a secure option to start, whereas Cancelo, there might be some rotation risk, but if Walker's out injured, I definitely think the Portuguese international will start at either that left or that right back slot. In terms of the Brighton assets, I decided to highlight Dunk here instead of Duffy just because Duffy might be slightly more of a rotation risk, and I probably would consider starting Dunk over the likes of Cancelo or Diaz just because from a defensive point of view, he is facing Newcastle. That could be a clean sheet, but also Dunk offers some attacking threat off those set pieces. So long story short with these Man City defenders, unfortunately it's a little bit of a situational thing. If you guys do have a player on your bench that has a great fixture like an Mbeumo, I probably would definitely start them over your Man City defenders. But if you don't have an option on your bench, I don't think the Man City defenders are bad to start at all. As I mentioned, United haven't been that great recently, but I am slightly expecting them to put on a good attacking front just because they can't defend at the current moment. Now the final big talking point to go over before we talk about captaincy is going to be Harry Kane versus Heung-min Son. And unfortunately, I'm going to tell you guys this right off the bat. This game week, it's not the game week to kind of put this comparison up, as we literally have no data about what formation or how kind of Conte is going to set up. So if you guys want to bring one of these two players in, I would probably prolong it as much as possible, at least till about game week 12, so that we can see how kind of Spurs set up against Everton. Currently, I am expecting kind of a Conte to play the 3-5-2 with Heung-min Son and Harry Kane up front. And if he does go for that formation, I would slightly favor Heung-min Son just because he is playing out of position at that striker position as a midfielder in FPL. But if he does opt for kind of a 3-4-3, I do think that Harry Kane's going to be the better option then, just because he is kind of the out-and-out striker, and I think he's going to stay in the box the majority of the minutes in that fixture, and I think that will lead to more FPL points, as it will probably be more of an attacking position for Harry Kane. What I wanted to do is just kind of show you guys the predicted points for the maximum game weeks that I could go onto Fantasy Football Fix with. I think these predicted points are about till game week 18. So quite a long game week 18 there. But in terms of Conte, we don't really know how he's going to set up. So I would take these kind of projected points with a pinch of salt. But what I wanted to do with these projected points is just show you guys how close it is between these two options. And if it is going to be these close over these upcoming game weeks, I would probably favor Heung-min Son just because he is slightly cheaper than Harry Kane. But yet again, like the Man City defenders, this is going to be a super subjective decision that you guys should make. I'm going to give you guys my own perspective and my own team for an example here, and then you guys can just kind of translate it to your own FPL team selection. So in terms of my own team, I am a Kai Havertz owner, and therefore for me, I want to take Kai Havertz out before game week 12 because the Chelsea manager did come out and say that Romelu Lukaku and Timo Werner are expected back after the international break, and therefore for me, it makes perfect sense to get rid of Kai Havertz and then upgrade him to Heung-min Son. But I also do own a Jamie Vardy, so therefore it is not out of the question there to bring in a Harry Kane because I can simply just upgrade Jamie Vardy to Harry Kane with about 1 or 2 million. But unfortunately with me, I would rather keep hold of Jamie Vardy because the Leicester fixtures upcoming do look quite good, and they have 1 or 2 nice fixtures coming up with the likes of Watford, and then I also think they play some other easier opposition. So therefore for my own team, it makes more sense to bring Heung-min Son in, and that's exactly what I would do for you guys. I would look at what's going to be the least hits that you guys can take to bring 1 or 2 of these options in, and that's the one I would go for. And the simple reason for that is that I do think in terms of the projected points and the points that I'm predicting over these upcoming game weeks, I'm expecting quite a close competition between these two. Yes, Harry Kane might be on penalties, but I think the cheaper price of Heung-min Son and the out of position play that he could potentially feature in for that contest starting 11 kind of even it out between these two options. But let me know in the comments down below which kind of option you guys are going for. I think most people will probably go with Harry Kane just because he's the more assured option, I guess, and being on penalties does provide a little bit more of an attraction of FPL managers to him. But I do think that Heung-min Son's the easier play to bring in, and therefore you guys can just simply move around your midfield to fit in the cheaper option. One thing I would also note is that both of these two options will probably be going on international break, and therefore if you guys are going to wait till game week 12 to make these transfers, wait as long as possible because there could be a potential injury like there was last international break for Heung-min Son. But as I said, let me know in the comments down below who you guys are going for and which players you're taking out to accommodate these two options. If you guys want a more in-depth analysis into Conte and kind of Harry Kane and Son, go watch my previous video that I released on about Monday or Tuesday, as I did take a little bit of a closer look into the potential formations that Conte will feature. But the final talking point to go over, as we usually do on these ultimate guides, is going to be the captaincy decision. And this week, if you guys are kind of going for the boring strategy, I don't think it's necessarily the worst strategy in the world. It's just a kind of perma-captain Mo Salah. This week though, against West Ham, I'm not expecting too many points, to be honest, from the Egyptian. And that's why if you guys want to go Maverick, this is probably the game week that I would go for. And the main reason for that is not only is the Liverpool fixture not that great against West Ham, who've actually been quite defensively assured, have conceded 1 or 2 goals in the past couple game weeks to stronger opposition, but I just think the ceiling is a lot higher in terms of the other fixtures. We have Harry Kane here, who haven't featured against Everton, who haven't really been defending that well. We also have someone like an Ivan Toney or an Mbumo that will be mega differential, who do face Norwich at home. But the two options that I would probably go for, if you don't want to go for Mo Salah, which I probably wouldn't advise, I'm probably also going to go for Mo Salah just because in game week 9 I was burnt severely from not captaining him. But I think that Kai Havertz or any Chelsea defender, attacker to go for. Also Jamie Vardy against Leeds provide nice little options that you guys can also go for. Burnley at home is a great fixture. Now while Burnley might not be that defensively assured, I don't really see Chelsea scoring too many, and that's why with Havertz you basically have to hope that if Chelsea do score, that he's on the score sheet or at least getting an assist. And I think over these past couple of games you haven't been secured of that option, and that's why I think if you want to go for Kai Havertz, you got to be prepared for slight disappointment. They can continue with Jamie Vardy. He either gets a haul or doesn't. There seems to be no kind of middle ground with Jamie Vardy right now. And against Leeds, a side that yet again can't defend, I'm expecting Leicester to kind of bounce back after that loss to Arsenal. And I just hope that Jamie Vardy starts and he performs quite well. But as I said, most people go with Mo Salah, and therefore I don't think you guys can kind of go away from him unless you're really not happy with your rank or you want to be kind of a little bit of a maverick manager in game week 11. Let me know who you guys are captaining down below. I'm pretty sure most of you will be going for Mo Salah, but there might be those of you kind of going a little bit differential and going for someone like a Kai Havertz or also going for a Jamie Vardy. One player that I also wanted to talk about is going to be Aubameyang, but I knew that he was going to be coming up on the next slide, so I wanted to talk about him when I went over to Fantasy Football Fix and went over to the Predictor Tool and I just searched for Game Week 11, and these are going to be the top 3 projected point scorers for Game Week 11. The first one, no surprise there, most algorithms and most kind of projected points algorithms are projecting that Mo Salah will score the most points, and he comes in with a nice 6.3 projected points against West Ham away. So yet again, another reason to maybe captain the Egyptian international, and that's why I think if you guys have to be really assured about going differential, if you guys want to go for not captaining Mo Salah in Game Week 11. But coming up next with Aubameyang, a nice little option to go for, mega differential, as I don't really think he's owned by that many managers, against Watford at home, and Watford are definitely not kind of at the epitome of defensive ability right now, and I think that Arsenal have picked up form over these last couple games. And that's why Aubameyang could be a nice little captaincy option to go for. Fantasy Football Fix is projecting him to be the second highest point scorer with a nice 5.7 points. Then the final player to go over is going to be a Chelsea defender. So I think that Mendy and then also Rudiger were projected to score the most points, but I think that Rudiger is owned slightly by more managers, and that's why I wanted to go for Rudiger with a nice 5.4 projected points. Unfortunately, this probably is going to be from a clean sheet, and I do think against Burnley, the clean sheet for Chelsea should be there, but there might be some shock after kind of a Burnley's form against Brentford last game week. I probably wouldn't go for a defender as my captain, especially when Mo Salah is in and around there with his effective ownership probably being above 150% yet again. And that's why I think if you're going to go Maverick, maybe consider Havertz, Aubameyang or Vardy. But if you want to go safe, Mo Salah is going to be your man for Game Week 11. But this is basically wrap up the video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like if you did and subscribe if you're new or have not subscribed yet. I'll be seeing you guys for the deadline stream coming up tomorrow, 1 hour before the deadline. So make sure that your guys' alarm or your notification bell is on for Twitter or my YouTube notifications. I'm signing off. It's been Dayvy FPL and I'm out. Cheers. Bye.